a couple of weeks earlier, deck pattern had been done for 5 matches or something, quite a lot for a shoulder charge. And I think that was sort of the rule of that period of that particular season, that referees were quite heavily imposing. I think sort of the comedy moment was Jamie Shaw walking over to Beretta, who was getting set for the next play, and telling him he had actually been sent off, so he needed to leave the pitch.
It was a clothesline. It was. It was.
It wasn't.
And it looked bad. It looked bad, didn't it? It took him out, and it really looked bad at the speed of the collision as well, which probably didn't help for Amo, but at the same time, I wasn't too fussed about the red card. And to be honest, your side wasn't too fussed about the red card, because when you watch that game back, and they showed highlights of it on Friday on Sky, you just don't think that one team had extra players.
Well, or you do, but the wrong team, because it is like Dad said. Once we had remembered that we were a man down, because Sneed for a couple of kicks seemed to be kicking to the right winger who was in the changing room. So there was nobody there to collect the ball. But once we'd done that, we seemed to be the team that was creating the overlap. And I'd say it probably took about 10 to 15 minutes for us to regroup, which I guess is fairly standard. But yeah, I mean, it was our intensity that was higher, and throughout the match. And it's just not what you expect, especially with a player sent off that early.
Yeah, which one do you think was the more impressive regrouping and coming back into the game? The 2016 20-0 and ballsed it up, or which I think in both these games, Shaw was a big player in both these games from memory, or the 2018 one. Which one excites you the most looking back now?
I think it's the 2018 one. I mean, because I think for the 2016 one, it was a great 20 minutes, but the rest of the match isn't so great. You only re-watch it because you know what's going to happen from 58, 59 minutes on.
Yeah.
Whereas the 2018, it was a very, very solid first half, and then it was quite a spectacular second half, I would say.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. It's not all doom and gloom for Hull KR fans. On Sunday on Super League's social channels, they played the SL Rewind game. They played was Hull KR versus Hull FC in 2014. And Tom Andrews got in touch to say, what a day, had a great first date with a new girl. She's a black and white though, so don't tell my dad. And Rovers slaughtered the Black and Shies. It might have looked close on the scoreboard, but when the referee is wearing a Hull FC shirt too, any win is superb. That Dean Hadley for the Dullers looked decent. I'll have a word with Hush to see if we can pinch him when he matures as a player. I always wondered which derby it was that Tom and
Page.
It just fell out of my mind. I was thinking, Tom and Page got together at. I always wondered which one. 2014. God, they must have been at school still.
Yeah.
Youngsters, young love. So not all the Easter derbies have been miserable for Hull KR fans. What other games did you watch this weekend or this last week, Sarah? Any other ones that you've been watching?
Yeah, I also watched last season's derby, which was at our place on Good Friday. And it's another, it was a really good one, but it's another one where my son was really annoying because he walks in and says, is this where we won 56-12? I said, I've got no idea, Joshua. I'm just watching it at the minute. He said, when's it from? I said, it's last season. He said, we only played them at our place once last season. So if it was last season, it was 56-12. So nothing like spoiling, the punchline, is there?
No.
But yeah, that was another good game.
David, have you had the opportunity to watch any old games recently?
Sadly not. No, I haven't watched much at all. I think, I tell a lie, I watched the very first game of Super League the other week when it was on, Sheffield Eagles against Paris Saint-Germain, and I was surprised that watching the game just looks like watching a top level amateur. It was entertaining. It was very good. I watch a lot of amateur rugby. I really enjoy it. But the ball was being flung everywhere. A lot of offloads, unstructured play.
Yeah.
Very entertaining, but nothing like what the sport is now.
No, the discipline and structure and I suppose intensity level. I mean, some of the tackling was intense and exciting, but it wasn't. It was a different game, wasn't it? 25 years ago, 24 years ago.
Completely different sport.
I've watched, unsurprisingly, lots of Wigan and Saints games this week. I mean, I had a lot to choose from. On Good Friday, immediately after the 2003 game that was on telly, which was a great one to rewatch as a Wigan fan. They showed on Wigan and I think on Saints' Facebook page and YouTube pages at the same time. Both of them showed the 2004 derby, which was the only game I've rewatched so far that Wigan didn't win.
Scandal.
It was a draw, and what a game it was. And I remember being at that game. It was one of those rainy Knowsley Road Easter games where you had to sort of scramble to get under the roof, and going to the toilets was even more of a miserable chore than it normally was at Knowsley Road, and those sorts of things. I think it might have been the one where we had to stop off on the way home, even though it's not that far to drive home. Particularly, we had to stop off for a week, as me and my cousin had quite a bit of beer, I think, on this particular Good Friday. But that was a fantastic game. People might remember it for the brawl that kind of kicked off, I think, initially between John Wilkin and Terry Newton, I think, but then
surprising
involved everyone. And Saints had a big Samoan winger who I didn't even remember, but he came in with some brutal shots in that as well.
Was that the one with the hair? That came from Rugby Union.
He was a big lad.
Rugby Union.
I think they were trying to get their own Vinacolo, but they got more of a Vina no-go kind of situation.
Oh, I don't know. I remember him. I can't remember the name for now, but I remember him being a fantastic player. He was really
somebody or other.
He just didn't have good hands, did he? He was physical, and I don't think he was a finisher. But obviously I won't have watched as much as him, David, as you would, because although you're not a St Helens fan, you're actually a St Helens fan, so you would have seen a lot more of him than me.
I'm a Rugby League fan from St Helens. I follow St Helens rather than being I'm a supporter of the whole game. I watch any rugby of any level and any team, and I can enjoy them just the same. But yeah, I follow St Helens because I'm a St Helens lad, and I remember the guy playing really well and being a great player, but I think he had some off-the-field problems, didn't he? And that's why his career was pretty short at St Helens. If I remember rightly, he was quite exciting to watch, and the fans loved him.
He was a big lad, but I can't remember him having much skill or hands, but maybe I remember it differently, obviously.
You need good hands on the wing?
Good hands on the wing? Yeah.
You only need to catch and run, don't you?
Yeah. I think there's players who've got a bit more about him. Let's have a look.
Was it Ferretti Tuilagi?
No.
Okay.
It was, I think, well, it could have been, actually, now you mention it, but no, I think it was a player who, I think he began with an S. Hold on. Dom Fianartu. Fianarti?
Did he not sign at the same time as the forward from Rugby Union?
I'm not sure. He went on to play for Leeds a year after St Helens. He only scored 8 tries in 21 games. In that St Helens side, I mean, I don't know about that. Let's have a look at who else was in the St Helens squad that year. But yeah, I really enjoyed that game. The speed of that game. That game was closer to the games of today. It definitely was closer to the games of today. But it was still at the same time, a bit different. Hold on. This isn't going well for me. I won't. I'm causing too much of a delay here.
Are you trying to look it up?
I'm trying to look up who else might have been the guy that you're talking about who they signed from Rugby Union. I mean, Fasavalou.
Do you want me to look while you chat?
It couldn't have been. Would it have been Fasavalou?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
'Cause he obviously went. He was a good player. He got to play for Great Britain and things like that, didn't he? Controversially, and those sorts of things. Yeah.
My memory could be playing tricks on me, but if I remember correctly, they both signed at the same time from Rugby Union. What kind of year were we talking?
We are talking 2004, obviously. Fastavaloo's first year for St Helens was 2004. So yeah, they both had the first year at the same time. Obviously, Fastavaloo was a bit more successful, stayed around for 7 seasons, and won some silverware in that time. And like we say, got to play. It was for England and Great Britain. He got to play for. So yeah. So I also then went on to watch the 2011, 2012, 2014, and 2015 games. And oh no, not 2014, 2015, 2013. Sorry, and I've also watched the 2002 Challenge Cup final, which was what our league played on Saturday tea time as well, which was a great reminder for a Wigan fan. It was made for Wigan fans this weekend. I think some of the archived games they were showing, and I had a lot of fun reliving some of those games. Certainly, but I think now my appetite for Wigan Saints games is probably past, and now I need to move on to something else. I don't know. Maybe we should get some more international games watched, maybe, Sarah.
Yeah.
So we can all be on the same side.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
I would say one of the things that struck me from watching the 2012 game, which was the first game at Knowsley Road, was that St Helens. Sorry, the first game at Langtree Park. You're right. Yeah, see, we told him, didn't we? We told David before we started recording that we make loads of mistakes.
I didn't know whether you meant the first match at Langtree Park or the last match at the Knowsley Road, but I was fairly certain what you said wasn't what you meant.
Yeah, the first one at Langtree Park, totally wicked as it is now. And there was some players in that Saints side who you sort of forget about, and actually it's going to roll into the second rowers conversation. But I completely forgot about Chris Flannery. But then when I watched even the 2004 game, I think he might have even been in that, but he was around for a long time at St Helens as a sort of overseas forward. So he was overseas, wasn't he? He was an Aussie, weren't he?
I think he's one of those that you don't think of as an Aussie, though.
Because he wasn't really that exciting.
Yeah, maybe.
He was a solid player,
wasn't he? He was here for so long.
But yeah, there was players like that kept coming back into your mind, and then watching the 2002 final with Ricky Bybee coming off the bench to play for Wigan, then the 2003 game with Ricky Bybee coming off the bench and playing for St Helens, and so very in contrast for that guy's career. I think the first time I ever saw Ricky Bybee play was away at Salford. He came on the pitch and got sent off within about a minute, so he was never my favourite.
No.
Yeah, it is great watching some of these old games. Even
you just forget some players, don't you? Well, and they don't deserve being forgotten.
I was watching that one of the Hull ones, and Steve Michaels, and I remember when he was playing at Hull, we used to make a lot of jokes about him because he came from that sort of that Titan side that had all the drug rumours and all that sort of thing. So obviously,
well, he's banged up now.
Yeah, exactly. And he couldn't go back, could he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you had that side, and I'd forgotten completely about him, which is funny.
Yeah.
Right. But then we'll reminisce some more now, and we'll go and talk about our favourite second row forwards. Okay, so the main focus of this week's episode is talking second rowers, and I'm going to let you into sort of a, maybe not a secret, but this is one I've been looking forward to, a position I've been looking forward to talk about, because I always seem to really like second rowers. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know what it is, but I gravitate towards them. I often think that maybe the guys on the pitch who don't always get the glory necessarily, they don't get there's not so many songs sung about second rowers compared to lots of other positions on the pitch, I think. Yet they work so hard and they do so much and they have to be capable of so much. So I just love the players. I love so many players that play in that position. When I wrote my list, Sarah, of people, it's probably the longest list I've written of any of the positions we've covered so far. So we can't talk about my list in detail when we get to that. But David, we've got you on the show.